Hi everyone, just want to welcome you to this webinar that we're running today about Nimbus Reports. My name is Blair Valentine. I'm new to the team here at Nimbus. I've been with them for a few months, but I have a range of a background in ERP. So I've been doing ERP for the last probably 20 years. So I've had a wee bit of experience. I've seen a lot of systems. I've seen what people term to be best of breed or best of practice, or the latest and greatest that exist out there in the world of ERP technology. But today we want to focus on, from Nimbus, what our reporting, or what we term as web reports, are like, and how that looks in our system. So I'm just going to run you through some things. So session objective. In Nimbus, you already have quite a number of reports giving you informed access to your business information. What I want to talk about in this webinar is I want to be able to show you the capabilities and the potentiality of Nimbus reporting to be able to take it even further from what you're doing now to perhaps not even knowing what perhaps some of it can actually do. So we're going to look at, oh, look at that, I've gotten fancy with the slides. Just wanted to have a wee definition there from the Oxford Dictionary that potentiality, I thought I'd use a fancy word, is a latent qualities or abilities that may be developed and lead to future success or usefulness. So that's my theme word for today. So I'm going to be looking about information about being fast and accurate, access to information to make informed decisions, having information at your fingertips the way you want to be able to see it, and that Nimbus is an integrated ERP software which automates your workflow to the way that you work. Now, I just want to say something about that from Nimbus compared to, as I said, I've had a 20 years of a background in other various ERP systems, and most of them they would deem that they're best of breed. But what I find is that, and I'll use a technical term, that Nimbus gives you great bang for buck. So the technology that's behind it, the way that it works, the workflow, it's probably better than what most people sort of think it is if you actually go out and compare it out there to the other ERP systems out there. So I just want to sort of say that, just to put it up front. So I've been here for 2 months, and from what I've done for the last 20 years, I'm really impressed with Nimbus and its capabilities. Okay, so I thought, well, how can I best approach this to do with reporting, and especially do with what we term as web reports? So I thought, okay, the easiest way to do this is actually have a look at the whole web reporting structure that exists there. And I've got what I've termed as a top-down agenda, because basically I'm starting at the top of the screen and I'm working my way down. So what that is we're looking at the top, and we're looking at header reports and header links that exist at the top of the reporting screens. Then looking at printing, exporting and filtering. We're looking at rows and data and links and colors. And just in case you didn't think there was enough colors, we're then going to look at column colors and how that works within the system and how that's set up. So all this is sort of being spread out with a whole lot of sort of tips and techniques and that we're trying to get squeezed in this next half an hour. Pages and totals at the bottom of the report, grid styles and column size, and about how it looks and how it's organized. And I want to mix it all up with examples. And we want to be able to sort of bounce in some questions in there at the end, just to be able to let you have a chance to ask some questions about what I'm going through. Now, great thing about this, it's a webinar. It is being recorded, and it will be available at a later point. And the reason I say that is there's a lot of information that I'm going to go through today, and being a webinar, it means you can go back and watch the bits that are important to you. Or if you think that I've zoomed through something a little bit too quick, you can sort of pause and stop and just look at those areas and what we're doing. Okay, great. So just let me get myself started here. I'll just stop that just for a second. Get out of there. And I'm going to go to my jobless screen. Okay, so I'm going to choose a common report that exists within Nimbus. It's, everybody would have used this at some point in time. If you are someone that's dialed in, perhaps is not a Nimbus customer, this may be new to you, but just hang in there and we can explain it as we go along. So looking at the screen, so as I mentioned before, that my agenda was from the top down, so we're looking at the headers or the information that's at the top of the report. There's actually nothing at the top of this report at the moment, but I'll just actually filter it. Just going to filter it to this, and apply the filter so that you can see in this report at the very top here, now I have what I term as a header report. So it's a series of information that's just contained, because I've now filtered it down to a particular customer, Auto Electrical. They're actually now appearing at the top with some details at the top of the report. And because that's now occurred, there's also on the right hand side, there's what we term as header links that are available for you to link to, or to make some sort of decision based on the information that's in this report. Now I want to explain too the behind the scenes of what makes this work. So this is can be a little bit sort of technical, but if you are a user which has a power user or an administration rights, it means that you have the ability to back up your system. Now, one of the reasons I say that is that anything I show you now, you can play on your own system. I'm just saying, if you notice at the top there, I am in a test system, and I recommend the same thing for yourselves. If you're going to have a look at this, or you want to have a play at some of the things that I talk about, or some of the techniques for your own system, make a copy of it first, copy it to the test system, have a go there, have a look at some of the things that I say that you can, that we're going to do in this webinar. Try it for yourself. And one of the great things about doing that in a test system, and I'll show you that towards the end, is that you can make all these changes to a report. You can change some of these fields and layouts and the way that it actually works. You can do it in a test system, get it to the way that you like it if you want to be able to do that for yourself. And you can actually then, I'll show you a tool that we've got to be able to export the report and any changes that you may have made and import it back into the live system. So always, first of all, if you're having a play, you're not too sure, do it in a test system first rather than doing it in a live system. You may not want to do any of this for yourself, and you may just ask us at Nimbus to do that on your behalf, and that's equally just as good as well. But I want to give you a bit of a background as to what works behind the scenes or under the bonnet, so that you get more of an awareness of what are reports capable of, and how easy are they to change. So one of the first things that we're talking, if we look at these header reports, you can see that it's popped up and it's got a series of information. So it's got the ID of the debtor and the name, and what the address details are, and some sort of common sort of account balance or an overdue sort of type figure. What if there was something else that you wanted to add to those details? How would you actually go about and do that? So behind the scenes in the system, if you're one of these users that has the ability to back it up, you're most likely a power user, so you'll also have the ability in your menus to get to some of these areas that I'll show you next. These areas are, if you type in report writer, it'll come up and show web report admin, and it'll give you a list of different reports that are in the system. So because I am at the moment in the one that's called job list, so over here we've got that's called job list, I've searched and filtered under job list, and this has given me here job list of jobs for listing, selecting and drilling down. I want to point you out to some details in here that just makes some of this process interesting, and that is the fact that over here on the right hand side, it has a column that says header description and header view. So it says for this report, job list, it's using a particular series of data, and this thing was termed a view, data print, that displays this information right at the top. Now, what's useful about that is if you know what this is called, you can then change it. You can make alterations, or you can add something to it. So I'm just going to show you how that actually works. So we have another screen that you can type View Maker. If you search on that, it'll come up with this screen called View List. And in here, I can type in as the view name, this UData list. Now, UData list is what it's called, but what's also useful to know about this is that, UData print. What's also to notice about this, it also in the screen, it will tell you how many places it's actually being used. So if I make a change to this, you just need to be aware of the fact that it's going to alter it in or appear in 11 other different reports that it's also being used. But let me just quickly show you how this can be changed and how fields can be added to it, and it will update automatically, and it's nice and simple to do. So if I just click here on edit this view, so I click on data print, and I'll just open that, and I think that's going to appear in a different screen. It comes up with a little screen that says, okay, I'm bringing up this view that you said, data print. I go next, and it allows me to edit some of the fields that are within that. It's just popping it up on another screen. And if I go to the next screen, it's showing what the tables are and associated, but I'm not interested in it. I'm more interested in the next part here, which says, what are the fields that are being used? So if I just quickly click on that over here and come back to this point, you can see here that it's got like sort of the name and the street and the suburb and the PO box and all those sorts of things that are shown here on the screen if they are present. Now, I just want to be able to add a new field to that. I'll just show you how quick and easy that is. If I click on Add Field, it'll come up here and say, what am I trying to add a field from? And I'm just choosing one so I know, okay, from a debtor's perspective, I want to see in relation to this that there is a field that is called debtor contact. So I want to know who is the contact for this particular client. So if I go OK, it'll appear here at the bottom of the screen and show you that it has added the field, but that's not where I want it to show. And I just want to be able to type in there debtor contact. So I've got a description on the screen and I want to move it up. So I want to move it up so it's just going to appear beneath the name. So at the moment it says automotive electrical, and I just want it to appear underneath that. So if I do this, and this is where I've moved it to, so it's now got debtor name, debtor contact, street, suburb, etc. Click on the next button. It'll just ask me some other details about ordering it or filtering. I don't want to do any of those things. I just go next and finish. And it comes up with one little screen at the end, and I go save and exit. Do I want to override the old version? And this is why it's important you do this in a test system. So the answer is yes. Now, if I refresh my report, you'll find now that it's automatically added that field, debtor contact, and Julia Murray is the contact for automotive electrical. And it's added to this report here. And if you've noticed before on the other screen, it was said this is used in 11 other places, and it's automatically going to add it to those 11 other places. So it's really quick and easy for these header details to be able to add additional information to it, and to make this more meaningful for you, or to make it something that's so relevant to your business. Even to the point of these header details that are showing here, if I just go into here where it's got set up form for this job list, and I just go edit, I can make some changes to it. So I can say for those header settings that at the moment it's 2 columns across the top. What I want it to be, if I just go back into my screen, instead of being 2 columns that are across the top of the screen, I want it to be 4 as an example. So I want us to be able to spread that out. So I go apply and OK to that and refresh my report. Now it's spread it out to being 4 columns. So you can easily change the screen size at the top of your screen based on changing the number of columns and being able to spread those fields out, so it gives you some more screen space or some more space to be able to utilize. Also, what we have is obviously we can minimize if we want some more information out of that. And we also have here on header links on the top right hand side, we have links that go to different areas in the system. So this one here is going to invoice details, or it's going to show the job costing for that particular client, or it's going to create a new job for this data. Now, the great thing about these header links is that they can be so much access to so much information. It can do so many things. So what a header link can do on a report, it can basically do virtually anything that you can think of. So I could say, for an example here, if I'd filtered this report down to a series of data that I was showing, and I wanted to be able to pop up a screen that allowed me to edit it and change it from being supervisor Blair to some other supervisor. I could create a header link up here that does that, click on a button, and if I had these all filtered to just showing the one that said Blair, it would change all these particular jobs to being the supervisor of being somebody else, and be able to alter that. So there's a lot of strength and functionality that you have in these header links at the top of the report. And just to show you just a little bit, if I drill into this, and this will open up what is termed as the report writer. It just gives it a minute for it to pop up on the screen. Over here in the report writer, you can see that there is a tab that says header links, and the header link says what it's going to run. So in the case of that, it was running these web reports, invoice details, or job inquiry details. If I was to edit one of these, just to show you the power of what's behind this. So a web report can link and run to another web report, and we just pass some parameters in there that says, hey, look, this is the debtor index or the number of this particular customer, and I'm passing it into this other web report. So you can run web reports. You can run another type of application in Nimbus. You can run other types of applications. You can even open what we term as these small browsers or same browsers. So you can open up additional web address or additional websites in another browser. You can run some commands. You can actually get it to run some sort of process that will run some sort of activity. So it will go away and do something and then come back and re-update the report. So there's a lot of strength that's available from those header links. Also, of course, behind the scenes in all of this, there can be information that shows what it's been filtered to, and it will show whether it's if it's filtered down to that particular index of a customer to make them appear or not. So there's a lot of strength around that. If I just minimize this for a minute, and I talk about where I was on the top of the header reports. If we follow down from my top-down approach, so we talked about our header details or a header report at the top, and that we can customize that easily. We talked about there's these links that can go off to different areas of your system. Now that's all based upon your workflow of your business, completely customizable and able to be done from if you have some knowledge, we can show you how to do that yourself, or we can sort of, as consultants within Nimbus, any one of our team can do that for you on your behalf. Now, if I go further down and we take the next level and we talk about printing, if I go to the printing options, we've got to be able to print internally and to be able to print, and I've got an option here that says client. So just to show, print internal is printing everything that's displayed on that screen. So that's easy. The other option that's available is printing a client version. So what a client version is the same information, but I've been able to choose what they get to see. So in my client version, what I've got here is I've got a cut down version of those number of fields that are showing. And how that works, just to show you behind the scenes what's actually doing that, is if I bring this back up again, and I come over here to where the column properties are, there is a column that says to print internal and to print client version. So you can just easily go into here into the report writer, edit the report, and come in here and say, I also want them to be able to see the job contact details, and I want them to be able to see the start time and maybe the status information as an example. I can go apply to that to make that change. And if I just minimize that out of my way and I close that down and I reprint that list, so that client list, now there's my start time and my status are actually showing there as well. So from a printing perspective, it's very quick and easy for you to be able to print a version that you would give to your customer, not necessarily what you'd have yourself, because it may have some other context relevant information to your business that you don't want the customer to see. So we can split up what is printed via a client or via internally. And that then goes to from an exporting. So if you export to a spreadsheet, it will export what's shown on there from an internal perspective, so it'll export everything. But there's also a client version. If you set that up, so if I click on export, you'll be able to see here is a version of this now that looks in a spreadsheet that is based upon what I've told it that it can see. I will just bring that up to my screen. Here it goes on another monitor. Okay, same sort of thing, look and feel from an Excel perspective. Now, also along here that we've got printing, exporting, sorting, and saving report settings. What this means is that in this report itself, I can sort this to any way that I want. So at the moment, it's sorting in job number order, in job number order in a descending order. I could turn around and say, I also want to filter this by the start time. So I can click on that and it will change. Now you'll see that there is a number 1 and a number 2 that's changed from job number and start time to say what priority this has been run in. So first of all, the job number, then the start time in that particular order, and then maybe it wanted to be by supervisor. So now there'll be a 3 and it'll show you that's the order that it's in. You can also clear these by right-clicking, and you can choose a descending or ascending, but you can clear the sorting option. So you can take those sortings off. And in mass, you can clear the sort options that are over here and the filter options that are over here as well by using these buttons that are at the top of the screen. If you move columns around, like so if I'd like to have the supervisor showing over here, and this is sort of the view that I want, and I want particular filters, I can save the report setting so it remembers this particular setting for me. So next time I go back in here, it remembers I've saved this for me as being this particular user of this view. And that's useful, but sometimes that's not quite so useful if you make changes to this report. You add new columns, or you add some, or you've done something to this report, and somebody's got this saved. Because they've got it saved, it means they may not see that new column setting that you've just added. If I go back to where I was in my job list area, I can see from there, if I refresh it, now it will show there's this area that says user settings count. So I can see that against the job list report, somebody saved their own user settings. And if I click on that, it's going to come back and say that it's actually me. So I'll give you a list of who those people actually are. But in doing that, if I added a new column, they may not see it because they've got this saved in the way they'd like to view it. If I click on that, over here, there's an option that says mark for delete. I can change that from false to being true, which means the next time that they go in to look at that report, it's going to turn around and say it has been changed by the administrator. The administrator has added some fields, has done something like that, and it's going to reset your view. So if I go back in here, get rid of this in my job list report, I refresh my report. I actually might need to go out and back in again. There we go. So there's the message. Do you acknowledge that your Nimbus administrator has set your report view back to default? You do only have one option, and that is yes. And if I click on yes, it will go back to the way that the report actually looks by default. So that's useful to know. Users can save their own individual views of the way that they like to see it, and that there is the options to be able to overall, if you add more information to this field, to be able to override it at a global level so that they can have those columns actually available as it goes back. Now, also within filtering, there's a whole lot of commands that are available here to filter these details. So I might say that I wanted to filter this detail, so it is saying that I only want to see everything that is related to the supervisor of office. If I make this a little bit bigger, if I clear this out again, there are some other commands that we can use within here. So say it was, I wanted to see office and Blair. Okay, it's not going to want me to do that. So if I go office and Blair, it should filter showing me, well, actually it's been a bit pedantic because it's got a search box. And this is a good chance for me to say what these icons actually mean. So the search box here, this is saying that there is a lookup that says that I can choose some information that's in here. So it's saying who's the supervisor, and in case I can type in that office, or I can choose office that's actually in there as a supervisor for that, and it will search on that information. If I just clear that out, my and or works better on text fields. So I just clear that out. I'll clear my filters. Apply that. So it might be that I was looking for anything that says retentions. So this will show retentions, and doing the same thing. Okay. So in some of the fields, you can use commands like sort of and or to be able to filter what it actually shows you as being visible. You can also use commands such as not null. So if I show it not null as an example, it'll list in here a whole list of the quote template and what is actually that there are values in that field. If I wanted to see what is null, I can then type in null and see everything here that has no value in that field, in which in the case of this, I think I've typed null with too many L's. There is some showing with that. Okay. There is options here as well if you're searching for likes of the word, so number So if we're looking for 5 as an example, if I type in 5, it will show me everything that's got a 5 in it. If I type a percentage in front of the 5, I want to see everything that's ending in 5. So an example, job 5. So there's lots of commands that are around here. And I think what I might do I've got a list of them, but I might be able to, with Lauren at a later date, we can put a post up about what some of these commands are that are for searching or for filtering on the screen, so people get a good feel for what that is about. Okay, if I move down to what I was talking about filtering. So talking about rows of data. So this is the information that we've got in here. This is the data that's contained in your system. Now these rows are also, if I look at my my report settings that I've got, if I just go back a level here, if I go back another level to where we were, you can see that in this report that we're looking at called jobs list, it's run by a view that's called job list. So before I showed you in this thing called a view maker, you could actually have a look at what some of those views are and add more details to them. If I type in job list so we can see it, what I just wanted to be able to show you is that in this thing that we've got termed as the view maker that allows us to edit these views, there are some situations in which if I were to open this one up just so that I can show you what it will actually do, there are some situations where this view maker has been changed in the SQL database directly itself, and it won't let you look at the columns or alter it. So that's something that's been done by a Nimbus consultant that's in the SQL database behind the scenes itself. If I go next, you'll see that it'll go through here and it'll pop up a funny sort of error message that says it can't interpret this data. That doesn't mean that it's broken. It just means that it's been some specialized work's been done on it to make that view available. Now these views, just a reminder that in your system, an ERP system, is that you key in data, information comes into it, and that because that data exists in the system, views can be written that basically gather that data from anywhere and everywhere, combine it together, and can be reported upon in any shape or form that you want, and any level of financial data or anything that makes sense to your business, that these are completely 100% customizable. That exist in the system. Now, also, if I just go out of here, if I look in some of these reports, and I'll choose some ones as an example that have a little bit of color in them. I want to talk about linking to colors. Oh, I actually want to show you another report, which just in case that you don't know that this report has this functionality. And I guess I'm aware, Lauren, that I am sort of cutting my time for half an hour. It's gone reasonably quickly. Is there a possibility that I can carry on? Is that, or do people want me to sort of wrap this up a little bit?
I think we don't like to keep people in case they've got other commitments, but maybe if you're going for about another 5 minutes or so, and unfortunately, if anyone does need to leave, they can leave, but the recording is made available afterwards, as Blair said in the beginning. So hopefully you can all stay around just to finish it up, but maybe just another sort of 5 minutes or so then, Blair.
Right. Okay. So what I want to, sorry, there's so much content to talk about from a reporting perspective, is that it's there's a lot to get through to explain. So one of the things that from a reporting perspective, so here's another web report. Now this one's a little bit different. This one is actually allows you to actually edit on the row. So this one's actually quite good. As an example, the address editor allows me to go and say, instead of 132 main road, it's 134 main road or something like that. And I can actually update that field by clicking on in the grid and just over typing it. So that's one way that the row data can be updated in a bulk sort of type of way. And it's just a different view or a different way of the web reports actually working. And not a lot of people are aware of the fact that you can, if you had data like this, you can edit it on the row level. Another one to have a look at, if we're just talking about for colors, is this job inquiry detail form. So this one has a lot of rows of colors that are in it. So basically what it's doing here is the sub-ledger field that's called costing. When it changes, it's changing the color of the entire row. So that's useful that you've got a report that's listing all this information, but it's highlighting to you different areas that may want to bring attention to. So these colors can happen on a row level, and these colors can actually happen on a column type level. So even if I was to look at the, say as an example, another one is like a 2 issues list. is that here's an example of at a column level that the color's changing depending on, the number of days to go. If it's overdue, it's going red. If it's far away, it's green. If it's closer, it changes color and what it is. So it's an example of how the colors can change to make this information stand out more to you in the screen. Now, I talked about before, and I just want to jump back to that filtering, how we talked about you could do filtering at the top of the screen to filter to the particular information that you want. You may not know that there's also in that job list, as an example, it brings a whole lot of details through. But if I just wanted to see the internal jobs, I can type at the top there internal or search for it to find that internal one. You can also, from a menu perspective, you can create a menu that does exactly that. It will list the job list report, but it will also filter straight through to that internal one straight away. So it's even a nice way that you can slice and dice the information of your report using menu items to pre-filter that information and to know that that's actually available in the system. I think, Lauren, if it's about 11 o'clock now, I should sort of stop at that point and say we've talked a little bit about my list. And if I go back to what I had as my top-down agenda, I kind of got sort of halfway. I think we've got an idea for the next webinar. It's reporting part 2.
I think it's great because you just showed how much there is to talk about our reports and how many things you can do. So what we will do is we'll like you said, we'll stop here so that people can at least get onto any other commitments they've got. There are a couple of questions. I think a couple of them were mainly around the giving out the information about the filtering option. So yes, we will get that to people. We've got the commands we can send out to you, and that we'll possibly send it out at the same time that we send out this recording of the webinar. We do have another question. It's just going on about, when you were saying about when the people saved their own report view.
Mm-hmm.
So someone's asked, are you saying that people won't have the new column you might have added available to add to their personalized view unless their view is completely reset, so they have to start again?
Yeah, so what I'm just saying there in the case of that is that if we add a new column or we change the report in some shape or form, change the structure of it, and they've saved the way the columns are being laid out and in the order of what they are, is that there is the possibility that that column may not show, and that I'm saying that we've got the functionality of a company-wide and saying, I can see that there are 5 users that have this customized. I can go to those 5 users and say, hey, look, we've added some extra columns. Can you see if you can add these? If not, I can reset them for you on your behalf, so these will actually be available for you to see. So there is the possibility that it may or may not show, and I wanted to give you the option to say that you can see who's got these customized, and you can also reset them on their behalf so that everybody gets to see the default layout of what this report actually is. So it gives you choices, and that's the whole thing I think that I want to get across about this reporting, is that you've got a lot of choices in what you can do. You've got a lot of choices about the information that's displayed and the workflow that can flow off it. And I'm pretty excited about what this can actually do, and I do hope that we do actually get to do a part 2, because there's there's a bit more to cover off as well, and there's to give people a bit more of an overall view and understanding of what you can do with these reports. But absolutely, from what we can see here, that has a lot of functionality, a lot of capability. It has a lot of things that these out there in the world, these top end ERP systems can't do, and it's got the ability to do that. So if you've got questions around it, you want to discuss with a Nimbus consultant about, hey, I'm thinking about this particular report, or what about this one? How can I do that? Or even if you want to have some training in how you can create or update these reports for yourself, we're there to help. So please just contact us and let us know.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yes, yeah. As Blair said, if anyone's thinking, what can I do with my reports here, or if you just need some more training, obviously, then just let us know. Obviously, everything that Blair has shown today, this is on our latest version. So if you are on a different version, possibly some of the things might not be there, but our reporting function has pretty much, it's always been great, even in the older version. So you do have it, but some things might not be available unless you're on the latest one. So if you did need to find out anything, just email us either at sales@Nimbus or at support@Nimbus, and then we'll be able to get back to you. I think that's it, just so we don't hold anyone up any longer. I do if there's any questions that are outstanding, we will get back to you directly and then let you know. Don't worry, we won't leave you hanging, because we don't want you to not find out what you want to be able to can and can't do. All right. That's well, I know Blair hasn't said everything he wants to say, but we, like he said, we'll try and look at doing a part 2. So yeah, we do have another couple more webinars coming up, so we'll slot this in one in when we can. That's great. Thanks for attending, everyone.